Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another awesome episode of the Blue Surge podcast. As always, I am here with my co-host, Joe, and we have an awesome episode planned for you today. But before we get into any of that, Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I am gearing up for a weekend of work, so that's kind of the sadder part about it, but I get my weekend out of the way.
And have you done anything with Pokemon this week?
Oh, I did oodles with Pokemon this week. So first on the thing, if you guys checked out our Facebook, I did top our ARG event locally here, got top 4. I had a chance to post my list of a lone executor. I have talked about it so much, and it did as well as I thought it would. I played Pikarom 3 times. I went a total of 3-1. So I beat Pikarom 2 of 1. One I just kind of dead drew for a little bit, unfortunately, but they're going to have those games. And then I played Baby Blacephalon, which I curb stomped pretty hard.
Yeah, you're going to have a pretty easy matchup against 120 baby deck.
Yep.
And you played Blastoise yesterday, right?
Yeah, I played Blastoise yesterday and went 3-0 with that one. So I got a little more comfortable with it. I like the deck. It's tanky enough for me to, if it plays a little slow, it's not that big of a deal because it's so tanky. But trying to think of my matchups here. Well, unfortunately, I got one was a bye, which still made me go 3-0, which is still fine with me. But it means extra packs. And then I played Reshazard with the Eevee and Snorlax build. I was able to get around that. That was pretty good. And then my second matchup was Greninja Zoroark with a Guzzlord, where they would basically Miss Magius themselves into a Beast Ring turn, but they were unable to pull that off. I've seen the deck a couple of times, and each time I've played it, it's been unsuccessful to do the Beast Ring turns.
It's such a super gimmick to get 2 of those in turn 1. I don't know. Everyone's like, it's not that hard, but getting 2 Miss Magius is going in turn 1. I don't know about that. Granted, you probably play a 4/4, I would imagine.
Maybe. I don't know their deck list that well, but I know well enough how it kind of runs and works.
A deck list with that much of a gimmick, I feel like you have to run 4.
Yeah, I was able to get around it, so I wasn't too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, you had a pretty successful week of playing cards. I didn't do the ARG over the weekend. I was not available to do that. I did play on Monday. I ended up going back to Naganadel Quagsire. I think right now it just is the deck that I am most comfortable with. It might not be the deck that I play the best because I still have to learn it a little more. And it is a little gimmicky with the way it sets up. It's the deck that I'm having the most fun with. I ended up going 2-1. It really wasn't anything crazy. With Whimsicott's running around and Charizards, it was kind of just like whatever I run into is what I run into. I was almost able to beat a Whimsicott, but Quagsire is a deck that sometimes just you don't get what you need, and because you can't have access to Dedenne or Tapu Lele, you kind of get brick hands, and you have to be patient and work through them.
And I felt bad for a friend of ours too, who was playing Monday night with us. He played Whimsicott, because we're all pretty tired from ARG, so he just played some fun stuff. And I felt so bad because out of 9 coin flips, he hit nothing. Eventually, overall, he went 2-11 for coin flips, but yikes.
I mean, it did feel bad. It's one of those things where you look at it and go, okay, well, you are playing Whimsicott, so...
But with a 50% chance of hitting heads, you'd think you'd hit it at some point.
The only one that I felt really bad for is when we were playing, I flipped through Confusion and Whimsicott.
Oh, God.
So that one was kind of like, okay, well, that works, I guess. It was a game where I had no place attempting to win that game because I don't think I got anything going until turn 4 or 5. But a couple coin flips later, and I almost won it. I got really, 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 really close to. But again, coin flips are coin flips, and that's why Whimsicott isn't played in tournaments. I mean, that's why. That's the only reason why.
There's going to be one person lucky enough to get to a top 8. I just don't know when it'll be.
A top 8? I don't know, dude. That's a lot of games you have to win with Whimsicott.
It's a lot of coin flips.
It is a lot of coin flips. You know what? Maybe one day it'll be like an SPE. It will not be a regional.
Maybe.
I really hope it's not Nats, but it'll be something.
Probably not.
No, Mega Audino is the only deck in the history of card games I guess just Pokemon that will win something that it never, ever, 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 ever had a place winning. It's probably going to be the one of the, if not the only.
That and stall Momoto Lucario or any stall deck or mill.
Yeah, but that can win.
I know, but it shouldn't.
We're not going to start this right off the bat. All right, your little stall thing here. What our plan is? All right, again, see, every time you bring up stall, you throw off my sentences, you throw off my words, you just curse me.
Boo.
What we have planned for today? You're gonna let me say this. What we have planned for today? We got some news, nothing too huge, just some news about the Unbroken Bond set, a couple new sets in Japan. Of course, we're going to talk about the outcome at Madison, talk about our picks, talk about what we saw there. I was really interested in how the tournament turned out because it was not what I expected at all, as silly as that sounds when you look at everything. We have a quick little mini topic that Joe's going to handle towards the middle that we'll save till later. And then our main topic is something that we are also going to kind of hide off till later because it is a debate that is very interesting. This week is kind of a dead week because we're getting ready for internets. There's a couple regionals happening throughout the world, but I highly doubt that there's going to be any big numbers showing up at those. I think there's one in Chile, and then there's DreamHack, which happens in Sweden. Both of those will happen over the next 2 weeks.
That sounds like a really cool tournament, DreamHack.
Yeah, DreamHack Summer. It's a huge event. I just don't know what the numbers are going to be. We might find something fun out of it, but we really just kind of have this dead period, and we're not going to start talking about NAIC today. So we got a fun topic planned for later. Going into the news, the first thing on the list has to do with Unbroken Bonds. As of right now, Unbroken Bonds is out of print.
Gasp.
This is not a shock to any of us, as they did the same with Team Up. I think it's interesting what they're starting to do with the sets, because I kind of looked into it. I was kind of wondering, okay, how come we're running out of Unbroken Bonds, which we're not really running out of, but how come they're not printing that, but we're still getting Burning Shadows, which has no place being reprinted. I looked into it, looked through kind of the articles. What card is busted in there? You tell me.
It's Burning Shadows. Everybody loves Burning Shadows.
Can you name me one really, really good card out of Burning Shadows? One. Off the top of your head. That's what I thought. Anyway, I looked into it because I was confused trying to figure out why they started to limit print. And basically what I found, which it makes a lot of sense now that I look at it, they overprinted sets so much that most of it never got sold. I mean, it made a really good point. I was looking at the Poke Beach article as well, and they're saying that a lot of booster packs have promos that are from the X and Y era. When you go like into a Target or a Walmart, there's a lot of those still sitting around, and they're not wrong. So Pokemon really overproduced those cards.
Yeah, because I was looking at our local card shop had some Detective Pikachu stuff, like with the coin and everything. Of course, they had those packs, but their bonus pack from the actual Pokemon TCG pack was a Burning Shadows pack. I was like, no one wants these anymore.
I mean, it's like every promo box has an Evolutions pack in it. Ugh. That's like Pokemon's dark stain on the card game is Evolutions. That set,
but it's nostalgia.
I wasn't upset when the set came out because I was like, all right, this is a really neat thing. It's a cool way to reprint the cards. I have no problem with it. But then it showed up everywhere.
But it got me back into the game, and which is great. But after a while, I realized the cards and look at what's coming out and what's been out. I'm like, this is really bad.
Oh no, the set was god awful, but it's kind of like, oh, that's neat. That's cool. Why not? But then you go a year and a half, 2 years later. I don't want to open Evolution packs. If it's not standard and it's trash, I don't want to open it. So I get it. I get it why they're not doing this. I get it why there's limited print, because in reality, stores have product. People pre-order. Things float around. You will have the cards you need. Everyone will have access to the cards you need. There's not going to be a pro player that's like, I was going to play Reshizard, but they're out everywhere in the world. That's not going to happen. So it's probably not going to be that big of a deal. But it is out of print, so that is worth talking about a little bit.
Well, there was my hopes and dreams of pulling Reshizard.
Yep, there's only 17 Reshizards left in the world for grabs. 17 lonely $300 Reshizards.
Well, actually, the hyper went down with the $250, I think.
Oh, happy day. Now it's affordable. by all those doctors and lawyers.
If you have one, sell now before it drops to $2.
There's never a world in which you shouldn't sell that card. Unless you are a collector, or you really love to like show off that rarity.
Max rarity decks.
It's not appealing to look at a rainbow rare. It doesn't look good on stream. It doesn't look good when you're playing it in person. It's just a big glare on a piece of cardboard.
Like, even though I know it's Tapu Lele GX, but like every time I saw a hyper Tapu Lele, I have to remind myself what actual typing it was.
There's just so many reasons why you wouldn't play it. So most of those have probably been sold anyway. But if you're holding on to one, unless Charizard or Reshiram is your favorite Pokemon, please sell that card. You could buy like all of the other cards, multiple copies of them.
You probably buy a full Reshiram Charizard deck with that one card.
Oh, probably from the ground up, or at least close.
Maybe a Weezing spread with it, maybe. But
yeah, okay, fair enough. that is fair. You could probably buy 17 Weezing decks. More than that, probably. Our next part of news, though, is from Japan. There's 2 sets that are coming out in Japan that are worth mentioning. The first set was trademarked a couple months back. It is called Alter Genesis. This will be their September set. From the card art, it looks like the tag teams that are going to be represented are Dialga and Palkia, and Solgaleo and Lunala. I would imagine that the Dialga and Palkia will be a Dragon type card because that is the typing they share. And Solgaleo and Lunala will just be a Psychic type. I think that's pretty simple to expect. I don't think we've seen these cards though, have we? We haven't seen anything about these 2.
No, we haven't. But I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't print off a Solgaleo Lunala earlier, especially with being in Sun and Moon still. But
I'm interested to see.
A send off, maybe.
This will probably be their last Sun and Moon set, so that would make sense. The next set that they announced is called High Class Pack 2019. This is basically the best of X and Y, just Sun and Moon. It's pretty much all it is. It's supposed to have 173 cards in it.
Which I would probably assume, I don't think we'd get this set, most likely. My assumption is.
Well, we will, because we got the X and Y premium trainer box. We'll get it in some way. We just won't get it in the way that they're going to get it, which is just like a set. I mean, I just don't see us not getting it, but they're getting it as a giant set with all these reprints. I don't know if they're going to do alternative arts. It'd be really cool if they did, but it just kind of looks like it's another mid-year, end of the year reprint for Japan, which they seem to do often. That kind of does it for the news, though. Like I said, there's not a whole lot before we go into Madison. But again, worth talking about the 2 new sets and Unbroken Bonds being out of print. So take what you will from that. On to Madison. While there was a lot of fire decks, fire was everywhere in this tournament. And it sounds silly, but I wasn't expecting that. In the numbers that it showed up in, at least. If you didn't watch over the weekend, Blacephalon did take the victory. In top 8, from 1 to 8, it went Blacephalon, Naganadel, 2 Reshizards, Pikarom, 2 more Reshizards, and then 2 Zoro Slowking Persian decks. So out of the top 8, half of them were Reshizards, and 5 out of 8 of them were fire decks. Just a lot of fire decks going around. What did you think about how the tournament went?
It went, like I said, I did not expect to see that much fire. Like, I know fire is very popular, but so fire overwhelmed, and so did the Pikarom overwhelm. And it makes a lot of sense because it's still 2 of the best decks out there. And it's very, in my opinion, still both of them are very straightforward. Load up and donk. Top 8, we saw a lot of the usual suspects, which is pretty cool to see. Azul, Premwat, Xander, Pendarvis. Those are a couple of them that usually consistently make it top 8.
There were a lot of like just titans going back and forth in this top 8.
So it's pretty neat to see a lot of those guys make it in and see what they're coming up with. Because I'm pretty sure Pendarvis and a lot of those guys were playing stall the last few times, right?
I can actually look at that really quick.
I'm pretty sure Pendarvis played.
They did.
Shedinja.
They played the Shedinja deck.
Yeah, they played Shedinja. So it was interesting for everybody to kind of drop that whole thing and just join everybody else and hit hard. I
didn't expect this much Charizard. I know it sounds crazy, But after Santa Clara, clearly the Melmetals and whatever else scared everybody, and they kind of went never again, and everyone just played Charizard. I mean, looking at the list of percentages, 34% was Reshazard. And then if you group it all into just fire decks, 48%, so almost half of the tournament consisted of decks that were either Blacephalon or Charizard.
Thanks,
And
Walter.
then, yeah, seriously, everything else was pretty scattered.
Yeah, well, we still have a little bit of time to get those last 17 Reshiram Charizard, so we got a little bit of time.
Yeah, the last 17 in existence, so maybe that is what it will turn into. It was crazy though. Like I said, there is over 120 Reshazard decks running around. So
here's an interesting little thought too with this, with Welder being out, and I don't know if many people played Cynthias or things like that, so they would just keep on drawing and drawing and drawing. If I'm not correct, if I'm mistaken. So would Copycat start being something that people start playing because of the hand sizes?
The only reason I wonder if that would be applicable is what deck would play Copycat over another supporter.
Well, like for example, I talked this weekend with you when I did my ARG. I had an Erica's Hospitality, and there's decks out there that don't fill up their bench spots anymore. So you're not getting the quality you would want out of Erica's.
Right,
and then changing it into a Judge.
But at the same time, though, Erica's is a reactive card, just like Copycat is, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot more stipulations with Erica's. Either you get a max of 6, but you have to have at least 4 cards, or you have to have 4 if you're in your hand.
Yeah, and I guess Copycat, you're literally just copying what they have in their hand. And for the most part, I guess with Reshazard decks, their hands aren't small. But I do wonder, though, if Copycat is going to be more of a benefit than not over a Welder, over a Kiawe if you're playing Charizard decks, over a Lily. I just don't know. Over a Greens, I don't know if it's worth it.
Well, like if you're playing the quote-unquote anti-meta and you're playing against something like a Babe Blacephalon or something or whatever, or trying to play something anti-meta like your Quagnag, where your hand sizes are just pretty average, like
right
6, 5, 4, depending what's going on, to Copycat someone who's got 12 to 13 cards in their hand and they can set up like crazy, might be something to look into, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, your argument is fair. You know, saying that it is a reactive card, if you're saying that a lot of decks will have a decently sized hand, which some of them do now that I look at it, it's not a terrible idea. I wouldn't say someone was bad for putting Copycat in their deck, or I wouldn't say that it wasn't optimal, because that could prove me wrong. I mean, it's probably going to be at most
a
Cynthia. Yeah, it's a one of it, and at best, it's probably just a Cynthia.
Yeah.
I do like that point, though. Looking at the rest of the percentages, Pikaram, there was 17%, almost 10% of Zoroark Persian decks. So that deck is going to hang around, I think, until rotation, which is nice because it is a fun deck.
Well, this is the top 66, the day 2.
This is the day 2s. Yeah, I'm talking purely about the day 2 decks. And I should have clarified that at the beginning. These are only the decks that day 2'd. It would be almost impossible for us to get all of those percentages for every person playing. 10% of it was Zoro Persian. We had 5% Nagquack, 5% Weezing. Zapdos and Gramble had some showings. Blissey, Gyarados, Vikavolt. A lot of weird decks made day 2, but it was overshadowed by all of the fire decks, I thought. Because I feel like we would have heard about some of these crazy decks a lot more if they weren't overwhelmed by these giant decks just pounding on each other. And I mean, my pick being Melmetal, there were five decks that played Lucario Melmetal out of the entire tournament based on the data that we have. So that wasn't the right call.
No.
Charizard being our safe pick ended up being okay.
Yeah. And I think I picked Weezing. Didn't do great, but it day 2'd.
It day 2'd. There were 3 day 2 Weezing decks. So it did carry its own.
And so, yeah, it did push its way through. But I guess Field Blower, people started tucking those in because of the Shrine of Punishments and the spell tags. Really amped up a lot of that stuff out.
Well, yeah, and just like with Melmetal Stall 2, Stealthy Hood starts to be played to get around Vileplume. People are teching against it. There's really this tournament was basically a tournament where everyone said, all right, guys, let's all get together and agree. Stall's not going to win. Baby decks aren't going to win. We are just going to smack each other until someone comes out on top and basically say the best player is going to win this. And looking at the top 8, looking at the top 10, I mean, a lot of those people on the list are some of the best players that have consistently performed over this year.
Yeah, they were all doing really good. But I think the tech of the day, and I think you mentioned it like off the recording here, and we talked about it a couple times, was Persian GX with Blacephalon GX.
Which wasn't played in as much as I was looking at things. I thought it would have been played in more, but it was played in one deck that day too, and that is just nasty, dude.
Pop that down, grab some what's it called? You can always weld their things on there for their attack. You can always get the beast ring turns, make that more consistent. So, and it actually gives you an alternate attacker too.
You can catwalk for double beast ring, dude. You can someone can knock out one of your Blacephalon GXs, and then you catwalk for 2 beast rings. That's the most disgusting thing. There. That's literally the most disgusting thing I could ever look at in a deck, hands down. Blacephalon Persian. And I feel like an idiot for not thinking of this earlier. Granted, I hate playing Blacephalon, like myself playing the deck. Persian and Blacephalon, Persian in an Ultra Beast deck. Holy crap, dude. That is awesome. It might not necessarily win you a regional, but man, can you imagine being the person that loses to catwalk double beast ring? That's just gross, dude.
Yeah, but like given the current circumstances going into post rotation, Blacephalon still sits in a nice spot.
It does. I was very happy to see Blacephalon perform well because we were worried about these tag teams, and Blacephalon pretty much came in and said, I'm going to still do my thing. I have a few extra cards that I didn't have before. Welder obviously helps the deck move, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same deck that it always has been. The only new additions it's really just Welder. Welder is really the only consistent new addition, and aside from that, it did what it always did. And the people that are playing Blacephalon have played it for so long because it came out in Lost Thunder, so the people that are playing it aren't new to it either. So it was clearly going to do well once I saw the way it played out against the rest of the meta. And I mean, there weren't that many either. In comparison to the Charizards, where I said there was like 120, 130, a little under 30 people played Blacephalon. Again, based on data that we have access to, under 30 people played Blacephalon GX. So those people pretty much made a great call looking at the meta and said, this is a great opportunity for Blacephalon to come in for one last time, maybe one last time, and make that impact. I thought it was cool to see.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see where eventually when Internats comes out, because, well, people always keep their secret deck in their back pocket for Worlds, but that's not an option anymore. Because people should prep all year for that sometimes. And so I'm really excited to probably see all the stops being pulled out in a few weeks. So,
yeah, you look at some of these rogue decks like Blissey, Zoro, Gyarados, that Vikavolt list. An Ultra Mally made, I think, top 16 again. There's a lot of decks that are in play, and now that a tournament has happened, like we kind of expected it to in the first tournament, where kind of rushes are to hit the scene hard, I'm super interested to see how people respond, because you're either going to make the choice of A, continuing to try to bulldoze through with this deck, or B, become the anti. And I'm really curious to see where the pros go next, because a lot of them going from stall, from tag teams back to baby decks into Reshazard, they always make these huge flips, and usually they get those guesses right. So I'm really interested to see, just like you said, what Internats is going to have for us. Before we go into our break, we are going to revisit a little bit of a mini topic that Joe's going to handle for us. It goes through something we talked about last week, and it kind of builds on what we mentioned back then.
All right. So last week we talked about the Dragonium Z with the if your Pokemon has Dragon Claw, discard basic energy attached and do 80 times the amount of damage. That's for 3 colorless. and that will be used as your GX attack. So I did my research. I did it through what would be post rotation because I didn't think it was worth looking at it now because we're not going to get the card in time. So there are a total, including Miracle Twins, of 5 cards that I found. There might be more that I missed, but I just went through all Dragon cards that I saw. So there's 3 from Dragon's Majesty, 1 from Team Up, and 1 from Miracle Twins. So the first one from Dragon's Majesty is Drudgeon. It has HP of 110 Dragon type. It's got a Dragon Claw attack for a fire, water, and a colorless for 100 damage. And the ability of Rough Skin, where if you're damaged, you put 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. So that's there's 3 energy attached to that right away. So that's always a possibility, but I think the energy cost is a little inefficient to try to accelerate that as of now. The other 2 is from evolutionary line here. First one is Jangmo-O, HP 60. And then you have the lightning attack with Rigidify, take 20 less damage. And then your Dragon Claw, which would be a fighting and a colorless for 20. So all you need to do is, if you have a fighting deck, maybe bump that up a little bit, tack that in there for your Dragon Claw knockout, maybe 3 energies. Then you have its evolutionary form, Hakamo'o, which is a stage 1 with HP of 90 and has guard press for 2 colorless, take 30 less damage. And then its Dragon Claw, which is a lightning, fighting, and a colorless for 70 damage. So there's your 3 energy cost right there, ready to go. It's a possibility, but I don't think anybody's going to play Hakamo'o, really. So I think Jangmo-O is more of an easier tech, as long as it can survive. The next one we have is one from Team Up. We have a Dragonite, where its HP is 60, obviously stage 2, where it's a water, lightning, and colorless. Dragon Claw is 120. And has the ability Fast Call Look for a supporter from your deck. There's a nice lot of synergy with the Dragonite stuff. You have that one. You have another baby Dragonite coming out soon where you're able to attach a water and lightning energy from your hand to your Pokemon any way you'd like. So there's a lot of synergy going on there. And then last week we talked about the Dragonite GX from Miracle Twins. Reminder of that one, that's Dragonite GX, 250 HP. Water, lightning, and colorless for Dragon Claw for 120, similar to the baby one from Team Up. And then you have your 5 colorless for 270 Sky Judgment, discarding 3 energy. And then your 1 colorless March Delivery GX, discard any number of cards from your hand, drop to 10. So in terms of synergy, I think Jangmo would be great in any kind of a fighting tech deck. And then you have your, obviously, Dragonite deck to look into that. So you have your Team Up one, you have Miracle Twins, you'll have Dragonite GX to do that with. And I think there's a baby Dragonite in Miracle Twins as well that, like it's mentioned before, you're able to attach water and lightning. So that'll have some nice synergy. I'm excited to see what else comes out with Dragon Claw. That would be great to go along with this nice attachment of Dragonium Z.
Yeah, and I mean, that Jangmo-O is probably going to end up being the one card, if that really plays this. And if anything, I know you're talking about putting in a fighting deck. You could put it in Quagsire. Dragonium Z discards basic energy. So you're thinking of a card that can ramp up energy. Why not Nagquag? You know, a deck that can get it on pretty quickly. Decks that run Wishful Baton. I think Jangmo can fit in those decks if Dragon cards ever become a threat and Dragon cards actually end up being weak to Dragon, which I don't know if that will ever happen. But if there's a card in this list that's actually going to use that card effectively and be a tech, it's probably going to be Jangmo-O. And the only reason I say that is because, just like you said, it needs to be a basic and it needs to be kind of this quick thing that you can get going without having to set anything up.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure like the first time someone tries doing it, well, you still need to run a fighting energy there. But I think the first time someone tries to do it, they'll be like, "Wow, are you playing a Jangmo-O for?" And then out of nowhere, he just comes down and smacks someone across the face.
Yeah, dude. I mean, just like the Buzzmosa over the weekend, you play Jangmo-O, attach fighting energy, because, I don't know, play fighting energy in Quagsire. And then you just wash out and hit for 8 billion. It's great. It'd be amazing. So that's a nice little section that Joe put together for us, just to kind of think about cards that could use that. You would assume that more cards, like you said, would come out. We just don't know about them yet. Before we take our break, I am again going to tell you, please check out our Facebook, check out our Twitter. We're starting to post things on there more and more. Joe posted about his ARG. We're working on building that. So if you get a chance to, Go visit that. You can visit it during the sponsor break if you're bored at work. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and you can kind of keep up with what we got going on. But before we move into our main topic, let's have a quick break. Alrighty, welcome back. We have a very interesting topic to end the podcast. As I said before, it is sort of a dead week in the card game. Not a lot of new cards were announced. No big tournaments are coming up this week or next week. We have a couple weeks until Internets. So here's the topic we came up with for today. We have created a theoretical tournament. This theoretical tournament has a grand prize of $1 million.
Every time I hear about that topic, dude, I just think about that Bare Naked Ladies song, If I Had $1 Million.
This is what the song was about, this tournament right here.
Well, it's about Kraft mac and cheese and fancy ketchups and owning fancy art.
Yeah, if you hit $1 million, you would buy art. That's exactly what you would do. The requirements for this tournament, aside from it being $1 million, it's a best of 3. It is standard, and it is double elimination, meaning you lose 2 series, you're done. Kind of like a giant March Madness bracket. So imagine 64 teams, 64 people playing best of 3s, double elimination in the standard tournament. Looking at these past 2 regionals, we have a very interesting set of data to look at. And the question is, what would you play? If you had to join this tournament to win $1 million and you had to prepare for the entire meta, because you can't climb back, there's no Swiss, you can't go 6-2-1. If you lose 2 games, you're done, you're finished, you're out of here. I should also probably add that there are no ties, because looking at this right now, you can't tie. Ties don't work for this.
You fight.
You
to
literally,
the
if
death.
time is up, whoever has more prize cards left, that's the one who lost. Okay, pretty simple. You have one deck to pick. Joe, you are going to be in this tournament. What would you pick and why?
I got 2 things with this one, unfortunately. So in terms of right now, me being completely prepared and knowing a deck inside and out, it's not much talk to anybody is the Lone Executor deck, because I know it inside and out. I like my matchups. I mentioned before that I went 2-rum against Pikarom and Baby Cephalon. I have very high confidence I could do the same thing against Reshiram Charizard. The only weakness I can see with that deck that I've had is probably a spread deck. So, but if we're looking at meta call or anti-meta call, granted I haven't played it myself because I can't afford it, is Reshiram Charizard probably, because it hits so hard constantly. It did a great performance today. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I do like Blacephalon a lot too.
Dude, it's a hard thing to answer.
It's a hard thing. Yeah, it is.
You got to pick one, and you don't. What if you pick Reshazard and then you play Nagquag round 1, and then you start 0-1?
God. Okay, so I'm going to official pick. Granted, I would love to play Lone Executor, and that's actually what I probably would play because I said I know it so well. But because Blacephalon did so well in Madison, it does look really good, especially with that catwalk thing going on too. We talked about it earlier. It just sounds so strong to me. I don't like playing decks that give up a lot of prizes. That's why I like playing Lone Executor so much, because it's a 1 prize game. And I've played some tag team decks before, and it feels so bad giving up 3 prizes for knocking out 1 Pokemon. I don't know. That's what I feel so bad about it. I think still 1 prize game is the way to go all the time. But if I had to probably pick, because it's a deck I've always wanted to play, and I think it has really good matchups, and it proved it this weekend, is probably Blacephalon GX with the Gonadel.
Is that your final answer?
With the technical, with Persian GX, yes, that's my final answer.
This question is great because at first you think about it and you're like, oh yeah, 1 deck, this is easy, and then you start thinking about it more and you're like, I hate card games. I'm having anxiety. If I had to pick, now I kind of, again, just like you said, Joe, I thought about the decks that I'm comfortable with, and the first thing I was going to go with was like, all right, I'm going to stick with Nagquag because that's the deck I know. It's a water type deck, and water type is really good right now. And it has a lot of cool, fun text. You could add some stuff. You could play Lugia GX. You could play some really cool things in it. Then I realized there was one deck that was played over the weekend, specifically, and it was played by a handful of people, I'd say. If I were to play one deck to fight them all, it would be Zoruk, Persian, Sylvali. That would be my deck of choice.
That's a fun deck to look into.
It is. And now that it's starting to be played more, it's going to start to give people confidence to play it. Now that it is played with Persian, it has that teammates option. It's going to be easier to fish for things. I think it would be pretty fun to play in a tournament like this. Because with the fighting memory, with the water memory, you could put in different techs. There's a lot of ways to beat a lot of different decks without running into a lot of problems. And it is a best out of 3. So you could adjust. I kind of took all of the decks that it would go up against. Charizard, you have Slowking that you could play, and you have water memory. Pikaram, fighting memory, and this deck I would probably play Dumbbells. Single prize decks, I just think Zoroark has an okay time with them because it's not too hard to one-shot Weezings and Naganadels and Quagsires and things like that. Zoroark variants, you have fighting memory, stall, you have Slowking's memory attack, which is for 1 water energy, and you can look into your opponent's hand and discard a card from their hand, which would be really cool against stall. I've seen a couple people talking about that. And I could even play Oranguru to prevent deck out. So I think that in a perfect world, if I could pick a deck to take into a tournament for $1 million with no turning back, this would probably be it. And it'd be pretty dope to play.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty dope to play. Like it's a good choice. For me personally, I think it'd be way too mentally exhausting.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. But for $1 million, is that something you're really worried about?
I probably wouldn't get sleep the night before, so yeah.
I don't know, dude. $1 million. I just feel like if Gramble was the best deck, play Gramble because you're just trying to make sure you win no matter what. I would go to the hospital sick with the flu playing through all these games if it meant I'm winning $1 million.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And now that we've made our decks and we've made our selections, I now have a second condition. And I want to see what your answer ends up being for this.
Okay.
Double elimination. If you were allowed, play 2 decks. First deck, you have to play. So we're already playing Zoro-Sylvali and Blacephalon. Those are already being played. And if you lose a series, you then have to play this second deck. The first deck goes away completely. You cannot play it anymore. What would your backup deck be?
That's a pretty tough one.
And people that are listening understand that on Joe's end, he was not very prepared for this conversation. So I did kind of throw this at him because I thought it would be fun.
Yeah, it's a good topic. My gut always want to say Lone Executor, but like I said, in terms of preparedness, that's like my gut reaction is always that because I know it so well. But if I had to go based on medical, I would probably, even though like I said, I talked much it was a headache before, but Zoroark, GX, Persian, Sylvali.
Yeah, jump on the bus.
Like you said, there's so much text involved. There's field blowers. You have more shadows to get rid of. Other stadium cards. You gotta be very selective and choosy. And I think when it comes down to it, when you're like 1 game from elimination, you're firing on all cylinders, and that's where I think my mental capacity would increase.
Yeah, you gotta be prepared to go, and no matter what. I kind of took a look at this and went, all right, if Zoro-Sylvali fails, I'm just going straight forward with the craziest thing I can think of. I am straight up stealing that Nagquag Buzzmosa list from over the weekend. 100%. If you didn't see this list or see what it did on stream, this man did one of the dirtiest things I had ever seen in my life. He took his Nagquag list, played a Buzzwole Pheromosa Tag Team GX in it, played 2 unit energies, the Grass, Fire, Water, and then a Beast Energy, and was able to use Buzzmosa's Tag Team GX attack to take 4 prizes, which is gross. I want to play this deck, Joe. I want to build this. It's not good. It might be good, but it looks like it's really bad.
You just said it's not good and you're going to play as your backup?
But it's basically saying I'm going to go all out and whatever happens, happens. This deck is literally just high risk, high reward. Because Quagsire in itself is high risk, high reward. This thing plays both the Fighting Quagsire and Onyx. It plays 2 Articuno, plays the Pheromosa Buzzwole Tag Team, It plays unit energy, Joe. Why? It's a unit energy deck. It only has 2 aqua patches. This man had no fear. I want to play this deck so badly. So you know what?
So you're telling me that you're 1 game from elimination, you're close to $1 million, and you're gonna rely on Buzzwole Fermosa with Nagana or Quagsire?
I'm gonna bop that fool for 4 prizes. Heck yeah! We're running on all cylinders. Cause look, let's think about it.
I'm trying to.
Most of the decks that are gonna be played, most of them, let's be realistic, are probably gonna be fire. Probably.
So you throw a grass Pokemon.
No. See, you play Nagano Quagsire normally, but then you play the other decks that aren't fire decks. And then you kind of play it slow. You're kind of screwing around. You stall with Articuno a little bit. And then bam, you take 8 billion prizes with unit energy and washout. It would be amazing.
But Articuno doesn't stop Buzzwole Fermosa from being called up. It stops other Pokemon from other water Pokemon.
You don't put down Buzzmosa. You put it down, and then you Guzma, and then you bop the fool. Perfect.
You gotta pop energies on that thing.
Yeah, I know. You have Naganadel and Quagsire.
They can move water energy.
You don't need grass energy. You just need the 1 energy. Buzzmosa only requires 1 grass energy. So if you get a unit energy on it or beast energy, you wash out 7 energies and you take 3 extra prize cards. What's not to get?
Assuming you need to hit something for 80 damage.
It's going to be a Jirachi, all right? I'm going to Guzma Jirachi, bop that fool for 80, and then laugh at my opponent and take the $1 million. That's the plan. Because I'm not going to play this deck until the championship, because in the semifinals, I lost to the dude who played Blissey. That's what's going to happen. That's how it was going to work. But that would be my first loss. So I go to the loser's bracket and I climb my way up with Quagsire and Buzzmosa. It's a beautiful plan, Joe.
You make my head hurt.
I hope you enjoyed this topic. It was quite an interesting topic. I think it's a fun one. And on dead weeks like this, we will be throwing weird topics at you like this. And I think in a way this was kind of relevant because it's a fun topic, but at the same time, we're in a spot where we have to decide where the meta is going to go for internets in a few weeks. And we really don't know because Madison was really different from Santa Clara. And the question is, are people going to go anti-Charizard or are people going to ignore that and just move forward with the strongest deck? So I think it was cool. Do you have anything left to say before we head out, Joe?
I'm looking for my ibuprofen because my head hurts so bad.
What a wonderful way to end the podcast. Just like when you screw me up by talking about your love for Stall. Thank you guys so much for listening to the pod. We had some interesting news topics, a great interesting topic at the end. If you enjoy us, please make sure you follow us on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, wherever you're at. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you, and we will see you guys next week.